So this is session 2C on about preprints. I have a group of experts here with me. I'm John Sack, the moderator for this session. I'm from Highwire Press, and our key interest in preprints is we work with Cold Spring Harbor on the bioRxiv platform, which is one of the large preprint servers. Moving down in this direction, we have our speakers listed here in order. Shirley is with SSRN, which is one of the longest established preprint servers, and its focus is in social science and now humanities and other areas. John Ingalls is a co-founder of bioRxiv and the upcoming medRxiv. John is also director of Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory Press, which publishes a number of scientific journals. So John is both a preprint system founder and operator, as well as a journal publisher and a book publisher. And then finally at the end of the table is Brooks Hansen. Brooks is, excuse me, with the AGU, and Brooks is responsible for the one of the newest of the preprint servers in earth sciences. So we have a range of experts here. Well, we don't have, you could say, well, where are all the other preprint servers? If you look at this, there are quite a few of them. In fact, one of the things that was relatively easy in putting this session together was to have people who would normally be coming to SSP speak about preprint servers, since they are also, some of them are also journal publishers. But we don't have someone here from Archive, for example, since they aren't normally at SSP. So it is a selective group, but I think it'll be a pretty interesting group because all of my colleagues on this panel are related to publishers. So you'll get an interesting interplay of the publishing agenda and the preprint agenda. This is how we're going to structure this session. Just my short intro, then we're going to do something that we're calling a calibration step, where we're going to ask you two sets of questions about your interest in and feelings about preprint servers, and we'll just do a show of hands to figure out how you all where you all are. Then each of the panelists will do a short talk, really just to inform you about the services that they operate. We figured that, well, because many of you are publishers in a specific area, maybe you know about bioRxiv, but you don't know about SSRN or vice versa. So it'd be good to get everybody in the same place. Then we're going to do a round of 4 questions that we'd like to discuss among the panelists, and then we'll have open Q&A. And the idea is to leave at least 15 minutes for Q&A for you to ask the panelists. And if that means we have to stop our intra-panel discussion early to allow 15 minutes, we'll do that. So here's the calibration step. There are 2 columns of questions. And I'd like each of you to place yourselves at one point in column A and one point in column B. This is just like a Chinese menu. So you're going to pick one from column A and one from column B. Show of hands. I'll read through them. Number 1, you're not really sure what preprints are. Okay. Well, there goes the rest of my talk. Number 2, I am somewhat familiar with preprints. So that looks like maybe almost half. Number 3, I am very familiar with preprints. Now that some of you put your hands up twice. I think I'm in the wrong session. This is your chance to escape. Okay. All right. I talked to a database vendor for about 10 minutes one day about preprints, and it took me that long to realize that they thought I was talking about publish ahead of print. So we need to calibrate. Now, the second column. This has to do with how you feel about preprints or where you are in working with them, dealing with them, coping with them. I want to know how preprints are being used by authors and researchers. All right. I want to sort out what preprints mean for my publishing program and how to work with them. I have real reservations about this whole preprint things. Now, you're allowed to put up your hands for both B and C, by the way. D, I want to build my own preprint server. Several. All right. All right, thank you very much for that. So we're now going to go through and have panelists give you a short talk. I will.
Hi, everybody. As John said, my name is Shirley Decker-Lucky. He didn't actually say my last name. I'm guessing that's because he maybe doesn't know how to pronounce it.
I didn't want to get it wrong.
That's fair enough. And I am the content director at SSRN. So SSRN was founded in 1994. There were two economics profs who were frustrated with how long it took them to have the time between when they would submit a paper for a journal publication and the time when it would be published. And in economics, you may or may not know, but the whole review process is really quite arduous and built out. It can take 4 years from submission to publication. And so not surprisingly, this group was really frustrated with the challenges that placed to them when they wanted to get their content out, when they wanted to get feedback, prove productivity and so forth. So they started SSRN, a preprint server, in 1994. And in the time since then, it has grown both in volume of papers and in the areas that it supported. So you can see on the bottom of this timeline, we started first in economics, accounting, finance, expanded into areas that are somewhat tangential but connected in the social sciences, and then over time also into the humanities. During this time of growth, of course, there were pros and cons of being an independent organization. And so shortly before 2016, SSRN was sort of in a place where they realized they wanted to do more, but they had limitations. And so they were reaching out, looking for partners, and in 2016 joined Elsevier as a partner who could give them resources, help with, back of the platform developments and improvements. And so since then, we've had some really nice investment and upgrades, things like improved searchability and the pages look better. And also something I feel really cool about, I think that's really cool, is the Preprints, which we added, which is a social media tracking of if a paper is quoted in newspapers and blog posts and tweets and so forth. So that was a part of the trajectory of SSRN and part of what happened after we joined with Elsevier. And another thing is we continued this expansion into different areas. So in 2018 added new networks, it's communities, it's subject groups that we think will find our platform useful to facilitate their interest in preprints. And so in 2017 we added some for biology, chemistry, women's and gender, engineering, and then we did one for education at the beginning of this year. A few data points about SSRN now. We have 2.2 million users, over 800,000 papers, and these orange bars show cumulatively our total paper volume. And as is not surprising, you can see there's quite a variety in how many papers we have in different subject areas. Some of this is about which ones we've had preprint servers for longer, and some is that they're more niche markets, niche areas where you wouldn't expect to see such a huge volume. As John said, the preprint area is a really big and growing one. And so this graph just shows sort of the growth in submissions to preprint servers over the past years, almost a 7% compound annual growth from 13 to 17. Archive is the oldest and the biggest, that's the maroon red box. SSRN is this yellow box. And then of course bioRxiv, which is really a preeminent biology preprint server doing many cool and fabulous things that you're going to hear about in a minute, grown a lot. That's that blue box. And then the gray box is sort of showing the, yeah, some of my stuff did fall out of this, I think. Anyhow, the gray box is showing really the focused preprint servers that are looking at specific areas, really kind of narrow, focused subject areas. And we've got someone talking about that. I think it's really interesting to see how much that's grown, right, in the past years. So what I've been doing, I've been in SSRN for about 10 months, came from a different part of Elsevier, and part of what I've been working on a lot is restructuring our platform and our services to be more expansive and to be able to serve all of the research areas more broadly. I think everybody's really interested in preprints, wondering how they can serve their communities, and so are we at SSRN. Summary of our process: we take in content. It can be working paper, conference paper, preprints. We have data project that we're working on, and it goes through three simple stages. So stage one, which is checking, does it have good metadata, author name, title, so forth? Is the PDF there, and is it what it's supposed to be? And then a really basic, excuse me, is this scholarly? Is it not nonsense? Is it not marketing pieces? But absolutely not peer review, as is the case for most preprint servers. Our second stage is classification. So we have subject matter experts, people with advanced degrees in the relevant areas, who are looking at the paper and saying, where does it fit? If I'm thinking about all the different scholarly communities that might be interested in this paper, how can I identify those and flag those? And then our third stage is dissemination. So we post the paper on our site, and then we also have email alerts people can sign up for if they want to be notified when a new paper's been added to SSRN that is in an area of their interest. So really the other thing that I spend a lot of time thinking about and being excited about for SSRN is the way that we're really trying to support the cross-pollination of ideas. Just as, here's the picture explanation, just as a bee goes from flower to flower and takes the pollen back and forth and helps each flower to reproduce, our classification process really does help the researchers, who might be the flowers, if you bear with me for this terrible analogy, and might help people who are working in a certain area be aware of an adjacent area. So somebody who's working in bioethics might have their paper also be flagged for the law community or for the philosophy community. And in the discovery, there might be some new insights to support sort of interdisciplinary research, and both for the research and then also for the researchers to communicate and connect and perhaps collaborate in the future. So that's a little bit about SSRN.
So maybe we'll do another show of hands to see which people think that researchers are the bees or the flowers. No birds involved in this?
No, keep it clean.